Welcome back to our stage of inspiration and insight. This is Equity in Focus, and I am your host, Kevin Hooks. Today, we're diving into the story of an individual whose life reads like a script filled with passion, perseverance, and purpose. Joining us today is Jason Mimms, a talent who, with over a quarter century of acting experience, is just beginning to leave his indelible mark on the world of drama and comedy. From the South Side of Chicago to the spotlight of Hollywood, Jason's journey is one of relentless ambition and creativity. Jason, welcome to the show, and thank you for sharing your unfolding narrative with us today.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you, Kevin. I really appreciate it for you extending the invitation for me to be a part of the platform today. And thank you for the introduction as well.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. Listen, I'm proud of you. I've been reading about you and checking you out. And, before we get started, though, I'd love to give you a chance to tell the audience, who is Jason Mimms?
Oh, absolutely. And I appreciate that. Jason Mimms. It's kind of always weird to talk about yourself in the third person, but I'll start by saying this. I am an individual who is driven by the passion. I feed off the arts. It was something that I found very young, stumbling into an acting class and finding my purpose. And from that point on, I feel like acting has been purpose-filled for me because it's allowed me to travel the world in so many different ways, as far as, disseminating stories, finding different levels of emotion and reaching different places where I feel like impact is necessary and valuable. So beyond that, I would have to say, before I get into the heady psychological space of what it means to be an artist, I have to say I'm just a nutball at heart. I love to joke. I love to have fun. And I think, what better place than to do it within this particular medium of performing arts, being an actor. And I just love every part of this. As far as the journey goes, it's like being an alchemist. All the people that you get a chance to meet along the journey as you pave this way into getting to wherever you think it's supposed to be called success. It's been an enormous reward to be able to just find different people in their walks as they're going on their journeys. And just, that has been a part of my story that has been the most rewarding and fulfilling. And I think, this is where it's led me to you, just stumbling into a podcast to talk about some of my becomings.
One of the things that strikes me is most of the public, they think that this just happens. You show up, good looking brother, got a little swag. Next thing you know, you on screen. You've been doing this for 25 years and you're just now really making your mark. Talk about the challenge of sticking to it over that amount of time.
Well, absolutely. Well, yeah, the overnight success is rarely ever overnight. But as the public come to see it, it's like, where did he come from? And, you've been crawling, scratching, and diving in the shadows to get to success the entire time. And I myself, I'm no different. I've been doing this literally since I was a kid, starting around like 10 years old. As I said, I started in an acting class that my mom and my aunt basically forced me into, that I would have never chosen, because the fear and the shyness that I had as a kid was so real that I couldn't, ever really find a way to overcome that until the day I did, when I had to meet myself, that I feel, in that acting class. And it was that moment of where, you can go back and do everything that you do in a regular day, where it's like I hide behind in the shadows of this. And then I can also choose to be, because I already knew in my immediate family, I was funny. I used to, impersonate, everybody. I used to watch In Living Color. I used to impersonate everybody off In Living Color. Used to watch all the Eddie Murphy movies, sneaking them. I couldn't watch them.
Right.
Doing all the voices, doing all the stuff. So they knew I was talented. They knew I could do it. But I didn't know I can do it on that stage until literally I was on the stage and I had to do it in front of a group of kids at the time. But then later, it becoming my first production, which was Raising in the Sun, and I got a chance to play Walter Lee, which was played by Sidney Poitier. So that I liken to the story of success, period, because you're going to be put in a position where you have to meet yourself to become whatever it is that you would like to do in life. And so I pretty much had to figure that out as a young kid. And from then, trying to make it from, my first professional show was at 14. So from a professional stage at 14 all the way, up until, I'm 37 now, just that entire time going after this, it's been rough. I've seen a lot more failure than I've seen success, but I call failure the silver lining to success. So in every moment that I didn't get the role, the part, the whatever opportunity, I found myself closer to more of the things that I wanted because I knew why and how that success worked. So, when you talk about this overnight part of it, I mean, literally, if you don't love it, and this is what a lot of people in our business say, if you don't love this and you just want the fame and the fortune and all of that, which is fine, then you might burn out quicker than most. And if you want to last in this game, you have to love it. It has to be something that keeps you up at night. You have to work hard for it. And that's literally what I've done. And it's starting to now converge within the last, I would say, 25 plus years, within those last couple of years, things have really been clicking. And so it's like, all right, well then let's go. Let's roll.
It's interesting because, I've had the good fortune of meeting a lot of talent just doing this kind of work.
Yeah.
And I was flying to New York and just happened to be in the seat next to Samuel Jackson.
Oh man,
And
the rock.
he said exact words, what you said. He was like, it took me 25 years to be successful, man. So what do you say to young people who, and I'm old, man, so I'm gonna get off my line kind of guy, like, everything you got to work hard for, but I feel like the young generation, they want everything right now. So what do you say to the talent that's coming behind you to give them encouragement that this is a journey and there's no finish line?
Yeah. Well, it's not social media. I mean, and I say that meaning a lot of the things is, is that, post it right now, get a response right now. How many likes did it go? How many views did you get? All the rest of that stuff. It's not real, and it's real to an extent. I mean, because, me getting on my old man soapbox, I see younger kids, the younger generations that are able to make a very successful living off of TikTok, Instagram, and all the rest of that. But the thing about those things is that instant reward, that instant gratification with I would say the downfall part of social media is you don't understand the reward in the waiting, the reward in not getting it right now, like the microwave generation of things right now. You don't understand what it means to get to go through the whole process of preparing something, preparing the meal, if we want to compare it to the microwave analogy, where you have to sit down and chop up every ingredient and make sure you follow the recipe to success to have something enjoyable. I think it's in that process that you discover the love of cooking, of preparing something, love of doing this career, all of the steps it takes. You will find that those things were either leading you to a moment of maybe a different perspective. Maybe it's a different person that you needed to meet. Maybe it's a different moment in which you needed to hold back so you can see why you didn't get that opportunity and the other person made it to that opportunity. You can watch from what they did so you can incorporate that into your own skill sets. It's a myriad of different things that I feel like happens within the waiting period. But most of all, I feel like, and I'm a spiritual person, I feel like God puts you in a position for you to be able to hold the reward once you get it. Because most times, if you get it too quick, you can't hold on to it too fast because it leaves you. And the disappointment at that part, I feel, is greater because you got it so quick and didn't know what to do with it and didn't even know what you had, that when you lost it, you didn't know how to get it back. And then you had to watch other people continue to click and go further than where you were when you had the opportunity. And I've watched people, do that as well. My mother also told me, be careful on, how you treat people as you're going up the ladder, because those might be the same people you meet on the way going down. And I know in that particular way, if you're doing this the slow way, you're meeting a lot of people that are going up the ladder that sometimes help you along the way. Once you get to a place where you're stuck, they bring you up. And if you're going down, they might bring you back up again, So those are the things that happen as you're trying to navigate, a career that may take some time. And if it's worth it, you're going to struggle some. And I think that's the value of the lessons of going after it so long.
Yeah, you mentioned your mom and some of the lessons she taught you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, talent coming out of Chicago, certainly coming out of the South Side. So talk about your upbringing, your mom's influence and South Side Chicago influence on the person you are today.
Yeah, you know what? We have a saying in Chicago, and I'm pretty sure everybody's got one coin like that for their own city, but ours is, if you can make it in Chicago, you can make it anywhere, and coming from the South Side of Chicago, the grit of, Chicago. Well, we know it now as Chirac, but when I was growing up, it was just Chi-Town. But it still had that grittiness to it, where it's a very cold city. Anybody that's ever come through there, it's called the Windy City, and it's not just because it's a name. You
Nope.
slap some wind
That's
as soon
hard
as you
for
come off
real.
the plane, and that's exactly what happens. But that's, I feel like that wind, that buttoning up part of our culture is felt in more ways than one. I mean, you have to make sure you're ready for the coldness, and that comes in many different ways. It's not just the weather. You get cold, hard lessons out there, and sometimes they can be fatal, but and more times than none, they're preparing you for a world that's just as rough. And I feel like I grew up with, the unique part of my upbringing is I grew up with both my parents. I grew up with both my grandparents. And it wasn't a toxic relationship with the men in my life or the women in my life. It was a very a unique thing to have as far as a young man from the South Side of Chicago, young Black man from the South Side of Chicago. And I feel like that has informed me and formed me as far as the man I am today, because I saw real leaders. I saw real leaders in my life. I saw real people who were involved in doing community service, whether it be, on a small level or on a big one. But I was just talking about this with somebody recently, but I watched my grandmother serve within the clergy of the church. And then I saw my grandfather. He was a part of, it was like a church fraternity, but it was the Knights of Peter Clavers. And my father was a basketball coach, and he was my basketball coach, and he was also my baseball coach at one time. And it just started because his love for the game of basketball was something that he passed on to me and my brother. But it started off with just him being there, being present for my brother and I. But then that turned into a 20-year, I would say, his basketball coaching career. And, one of the most prominent people that came out of the gym that we were in was Anthony Davis, the super NBA superstar, Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
He was younger than I was, but, my father coached him as well while he was growing up, and we knew him. Never once did I believe he would be an NBA superstar at this point in time.
Wow.
That was how we grew up, and seeing men like that around our lives that, obviously put into him, put into Anthony, put into myself. It was, I feel like it was altruistic just to see them give on such a level that I feel like if those are the men that are before me, well, who am I not to carry and push the torch with some of those things? So it's really, I bring those parts of Chicago with me, and knowing that, I got the skills to navigate the world, from any particular place in the world. You put me anywhere, I'm able to go, and I'm confident on that. But I come from a man's man era. So, like, I got the tradesmen in me. I got, my father's a electrician, so I got this electrical contracting, blood in me, but I also got, all of the different things. My other grandfather was a reupholsterer. So I got some of this in there. My other grandfather was doing stuff, he owned property. So I'm like, I'm a jack of all trades, but I have that with a level of compassion and a level of, I would say, ingenuity that I think you need within any business, but it really comes to pass within the one that I'm in with doing acting. I can form that into any character that I need, and that's great material to source from.
Yeah, it's funny. I hear you say words like leader and fraternity. And so I'm going to take a point of privilege because I know you're a proud member
Come
of
on,
Alpha Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, my
come
brother.
on,
But
let's
talk
talk
about your
about it.
time at Clark, the time with the bros, and for the audience, we happen to share that bond. But yeah, talk about how much influence just your time in the education in a black school with a black fraternity and all that helped shape who you are today.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, yo to the Noops, yo yo.
Oh,
Yeah. So, interesting enough, this is an interesting part of my life because I'd have to say I was also daringly foolish. As I finished up high school, I figured I was like, man, you know what? I'm gonna go straight to Hollywood. That's what I'm gonna do.
mhm.
And yeah, that was a stupid idea because I mean, I didn't, I didn't have, I didn't know anything on how to get to Hollywood other than, I'm talented enough. I'm gonna get there. And I'm like, but I don't know how to survive.
Yeah.
So it turned into like, I'm going to apply to college. But even in that, I was like, well, my brother got accepted into Morehouse. So I'm going to apply to Morehouse. And that was about one of two schools that I had applied to because I didn't think about applying to another one. And I was like, maybe I ought to get it back up. And so one of the classmates of mine, he said his brother went to Clark. And I'm like, what is this Clark he's talking about? He said it's in the AUC, it's right next to Morehouse. Again, very stupid time of mine. But I was like, all right, well, let me just throw one in the Clark. Now, divinely, I would say this was the thing that was supposed to happen because Morehouse at the time didn't have any theater programs. And that's exactly what I was all into. But Clark had a theater major. And
Mhm.
so I was like, well, this is actually aligning better with me. And that was the only school I got accepted to. I got accepted to Clark. So I went over to Clark and my brother was at Morehouse. So it was perfect. So growing up underneath my brother, my older brother, I only have one. It was like this was the first time we got to pave and forge our own, lanes as adults. And it was perfect because he had his own that he was doing, and then I had mine. But that's when a lot of things started to happen for me as I'm paving my own way, which this fraternity stuff came up, and I'm like, I don't know nothing about Kappa Alpha Psi, and I'm like, what is this? And one of my roommates at the time, Jawan Mass, brother Jawan Mass, he told me, he was like, man, I'm about to go over here to the smoker. You want to check this out. And, I went in there and checked it out. I heard the brother speaking. I'm like, what? I kind of like, these some smooth ass brothers right here. I might have to, man, I think I belong in this room, And, from there, I ended up joining. I had to say like it was a semester later, but I ended up joining, and honestly, that was one of the best things because then I started to find out my leadership skills. And, that was the beginning of where, I started to really trust that some of the things that I could do can be impactful. And before I left and graduated from Clark, I was actually the pole mark for everybody that doesn't understand that. That's the president of the
Okay.
chapter. And yeah, it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work, but I think it was more of the things that I needed as well to prepare me for my journey. I got to a place where I felt like I was more confident at delivering and dissecting life's, problems and coming up with solutions more than anything.
Yeah.
And I really feel like that's a lot of the stuff that I'm able to put into the work that I do now. I'm like, man, like if I hadn't gone through that, I don't know if I'd be able to be as diplomatic in certain situations as I am now.
Yeah. And I hear that sentiment, across the entire, D9 world. Like,
Yeah.
so all of the Black Greek letter organizations, that's sort of a through line, like what it teaches you, what it makes you. So there won't be a commercial just for us. Make
Yeah,
sure I shout out
yeah, yeah,
everybody in D9. But that being said, man, let's talk about the work before we run out of time.
for
You
sure.
are you're doing some incredible work, and I know you got projects coming down the pipeline. First and foremost, tell us about one of your favorite projects you've already done, and then talk about things you got in the pipeline.
Favorite projects that I've done. I will definitely have to highlight working with Ava DuVernay on Cherish the Day. That was a fun
Love you.
project. I got a chance to work with the talented and the fine Miss Joy Bryant, and the talented, smooth brother Henry Simmons on there as well on Cherish the Day season 2. So anybody who hasn't got a chance to check that out on the OWN network. You can also stream it as well. But it was fun. We flew out to New Orleans. They flew us out there, and I got a chance to work with them. It was right on the tail end of the pandemic. I have to say this was like 2022. We shot that. And yeah, it was really good to work with them, the directors. I got a chance to meet the writers separately. I got a chance to meet Ava.
Mhm.
And the entire process of that, just from getting cast to making it down on set and then shooting, it was great. I mean, the city of New Orleans with the food, the culture, it was great. And then ultimately, when it came to TV, everything that we did collectively, I think it was a great second season. It was really fun as far as just seeing everybody's collaborative work come to life.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was one of my favorites so far. I've done some other things, working with a few different people outside of that. Some of the last 2 projects I've worked with.
But
Uh,
I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm going to before we get
Go
away
ahead.
from that, because I really want the audience, especially those aspiring actors, to hear about the prep, what led to winning that role, because it's a competitive process and
Yeah,
you got to do the work.
yeah. You know what? It's funny. There's always the same level of prep that goes into it, but I feel like the discipline of understanding what is going on in the preparation is something that we overlook. I mean, you always got to study, for the audition. You have to prepare for the audition. You have to do all that, but that becomes monotonous after a certain period of time. We have self tapes now, and these
Yep.
self tapes feel like you're just submitting, empty, submissions to
Sure.
people that you'll never hear back from, and that can be a little bit. It could be a little bit frightening, or it could be, disheartening, in that way, because you're looking for answers, you don't get anything, and you think the work that you're doing is for naught. But it isn't. And I feel like if you were to buckle down on the discipline of knowing, if you focus on understanding the story, understanding the character, and making sure you do the best that you can, and every time, it's not up to you to cast yourself, but it's up to you to give them something to cast. And when you understand that it's, you can't ever get in the head of what the casting director is thinking. But if you know for sure you've given them solid work, then that's what happens. And I feel like I gave a really solid audition with a little bit of luck that came along within that time, because acting is, preparation, meets opportunity, but it's also this luck factor that happens in there as well. But I feel like for what I put on tape, I think that it was seen, because I knew confidently what I was giving. Well, if you didn't want it, you don't want me. This is
Yep.
enough that I believe. I felt like I knew the character enough that I'm like, if you don't want that, then go a different way. But if you want this, I'm bringing this to the set. That's exactly what I'm gonna do for you guys. And I actually got a chance to meet Ava, and she told me, word out of her mouth, she said, I just want to let you know, because I got a chance to meet her at Niecy Nash's house, because
Mhm.
I work with an event planner outside of the hustle and bustle to try and get, a role every time. You got to survive in this town.
Absolutely.
So I work with an event planner who actually did Niecy Nash's wedding, and I actually worked that as well.
Mhm.
And then a year later, he did her anniversary, 1 year anniversary party. And one of the guests was Ava DuVernay that was there. And she came And this was right during the time when I had actually began shooting on Cherish Today. And so this was the moment, it was like a day or two after I had came off a set. I flew back out to LA, and the event planner told me, hey, listen, they're doing this 1 year anniversary. You need to be out here. I want you to meet Ava in a different light, and so she could get to know you. I was like, all right, cool. So I came out there and he had me, I had a camera. I was video recording. That's another hustle I got on the side too.
Absolutely.
And many talents. But I was recording this, and she saw me. She said, excuse me, why do you look so familiar? I said, well, I look familiar because I'm on your show right now. She
Right.
said, right. She was like, you're not just on my show, you're on my show. And you know what? Let me tell you about how you got this role. You got this role by no one else. She said, no one helped you on this. You got this on your own. She said, I saw your tape and I saw you and I cast you. She said, I specifically saw you and thought like, well, the role asked for a good looking man and you him. And she was like, well, I saw what you did and I called you in and I was like, yo, like, when do you ever get this? You never get this. And especially, from somebody who's in prominence like she is, you don't get the feedback. And I was like, man, thank you for letting me know and telling me because, that you would never even hear this part. So I was like, thank you for giving me that, because that was a confidence builder for me right off jump. But
I'm sorry to interrupt. I got to tell you this because I believe that one of the big misnomers that me and my audience who aren't in the know don't realize is how important it is to take your ego out of it in order for you to find success in your space. So you had the strength of character to be working a side hustle in the midst of being on a show. And I believe it's all those things that helped you get where you're going.
I mean, 2 days, I just got through. She said, I was watching the dailies, which is the daily footage that comes off the set. She said, I just saw you and now you're out here. She's like, what are you doing out here? And I'm like, listen, I'm trying to survive. And, it was funny, this whole moment, just being in Niecy Nash's backyard, talking with Ava DuVernay. Like, who am I? What am I doing? But that moment right there, that was a defining moment. And to this day, I'm able to, have a conversation and I see and I talk with Ava and we know each other, enough to have conversations and talk about things that are going on. She asked me how I'm doing. I'll check on her, seeing how she's doing. But I think those are the things that, as like I said, being an alchemist, as you're going through your journey, you're going to understand like things that are happening in your life are preparing you for moments that you may not even got to yet. And so just know that when you're putting in the work, when you're toiling and striving for things on the outside of success, just know that sometimes some people are looking at your work ethic and they're like, I like how that dude moves. And a lot of times your name is in the room with people that you haven't even met yet. And, that's the part where I think this is the most rewarding part of success, that you can't look at other people who get the microwave success and get upset. You just have to understand, well, hey, you know what? My time's coming. And so, that process right there. And I appreciate you asking me about that story because I really feel like that, if anything, that was a moment to really buckle down on faith and understand that sometimes the things that are happening in your life, they're happening outside of the scope of what we can see and what we know. And that's in the spiritual realm. That's in the faith-based realm where you just have to believe and you have to, cast a prayer out there and let it happen. Because eventually, if you're doing the work, it's gonna happen. The discipline of going and doing it day after day after day after day, digging in that well, going for those diamonds, you're going to get to that mine. You're going to reach the place of fulfilling and get in the water. So don't stress. Don't stress.
One of the things that fills me with pride about Ava in particular is just how many Black folk, people like her and Tyler, are putting on in an industry that we've historically been locked out of. Talk about your journey as a Black man trying to break through these doors in Hollywood.
I think that's one of the most pivotal parts of being an artist. I think you have to, being a Black artist, I think there's this unknown, well, maybe it is known, but it's this responsibility that's attached to our work that's a little different than being anyone else within our business. And you can take that and be overwhelmed or discouraged sometimes by it, because it's like, I didn't ask to be everybody's hero. But I think it's a special privilege to understand that and to move with that type of purpose. Because like I said, the word that I like to really say and overstate is impact. And you can't overlook your impact, especially right now, because it really means a lot to a lot of different people in so many different ways. And to be able to affect and to promote change with so many different people's lives, I think, well, that's like being on this platform right now. I think that's like the name of the program, the equity and focus, understanding that what you do, it can potentially be something huge and monumental for certain people and for generations to come. And I definitely take that as something that is a part of my career and, and a part of the things I'm doing. But I look at people like the pillars that are already doing it, that are holding up the community, and people like Tyler and people like Ava. They do a great job of making sure that they keep the model of what that success should look like, because you could be like everybody else. You could get the money, get you a nice house and get you the car and, just chill out and enjoy that. That's cool. But, how much more of the reward could it be if you were to give some of that back? Because as Denzel says a lot, you never see a hearse behind. You never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. The Egyptians couldn't take all that with them. They left it. They left it here. So you don't get a chance to take it to the afterlife with you. So what do you do with it when you have it here? And the best thing to do is to share it, spread the love and make sure you get into these communities and you big up those different people and you share some of this stuff, man. That's rewarding. Somebody did it for me. Somebody in more ways than none did it for you, whoever you are and whatever you're doing in your life. Somebody gave it to you for free, so how dare I not do the same? And I really, I look at both of them and I'm really enamored by some of the ways that they take in their success and they do what they do on this stage, and they're unafraid with it. And I like that.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, especially talking about success. I don't believe anybody's self-made. We all have help and grace that gets us where we are. But that being said, we're at the fun part of the show before we get out of here. So
Yes,
I'm gonna hit you with a couple quick fun ones. First and foremost, 5 years from now, you at the height of your career, what does that look like?
Man, you know what that looks like to me? That looks like me doing everything I'm doing on this podcast, but on a morning show, on you know what I mean, in an audience somewhere over in Cairns or something like that, talking, and it's a lot more movies, it's a lot more money, but it's a lot more people to people engagement and a lot more things that are happening on that level. Because I'm definitely gonna make that happen, but your boy's I'm gonna give me some new threads.
Right.
I'm gonna buy some of that stuff. You know what I
Gonna
mean?
change the zip code. You're gonna change.
Well, I don't know. Maybe we're dreaming here, right? Why not? I can do that.
All right. So listen, quick hitter before we go. You're writing, directing, and starring in the film of a lifetime. I'm talking NAACP Image Awards, Academy Award, Cannes Film Festival recipient of the Year Award, all of those one incredible awards. Who's your female co-star? Who's your male co-star? And who's your young co-star?
Oh, I like this one. It's going to require me to think. Let me see. I would love to get on screen with Viola Davis. That would be a great.
Are we talking like the power one or the snotty nose dramatic one?
Yeah, the snot bubble. You know what I mean? I need one of those, you know, either the Fences one or the one with what was the other movie she did with it was with not Viola with Meryl Streep. It was the other one where Philip Seymour Hoffman was in that movie too. I forgot what the name
It
of
was
it,
great
but
too.
you know, she was crying in both of those the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
way,
yeah.
different.
You
You
want
know,
that one?
I need the snot bubble
You need to
Viola.
stop it. Okay.
That's what I need. Uh, yeah, you know who else? You know, so if we're gonna say another leading man in there, you know, I would love to be on screen with Jeffrey Wright as well. You know,
Amazing choice.
I would love to be on screen.
American Fiction.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, you know, he's had so many
Hey,
different
all of them. Yeah,
beforehand,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, but yes, you
yes,
know, I would love him to have him in there. You said so my young lead.
yeah.
Let me see. An up and coming that I think would be a great one. You know, I just saw her in 42. I was thinking about Nicole Bahar, but I was also it's some other people that have been you know, it's been a few of them that's been really killing right now, you know.
I know.
I know, yeah. You know what? I'll go with her for right now because like I'm thinking of some of the other ones, but I can't think of the films I've been watching. Been watching a whole lot of films and series right now, but that would be cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then what was the last part of it?
No,
You
no,
know?
how about this? How about this? We're gonna switch it up a little bit. Throw you a little curveball.
Okay.
We got now it's a buddy cop comedy movie like the old days, 48 hours. Like, who's your code out with?
Well, you didn't already name the person already. I mean, the 48 hours, I definitely want to go back with, you know, Eddie. Like
Yeah.
I grew up watching all the Eddie stuff. So Eddie Murphy would be a perfect one. But, you know, I love the Bad Boys, you know, like me and
Yep.
my brother was just talking about Bad Boys and everything too. So like it depends though. You know, I kind of like the old Bad Boys
Like
more
the
than
skinny
the new
Martin, not the
ones.
you know.
Skinny Martin, you know what I mean? Pack of Bubblicious, you know what I'm saying? And some Skittles, you know, I like that. Martin or Will, you know.
Yeah.
But that would be cool. That'd be funny, you know. I know these are old heads in the game, you know. Some of the young ones, I guess I'm overlooking at this point. But I'm like, I really like idolize these people growing up. And I'm like, when you say 48 hours, I mean, I wanted to be in the movie with him during that time.
Right.
You know, I was like 12 or something like that. But
So listen, you get a few seconds before we close out the show, and you get to say anything that you want the top Hollywood producers and casting directors to know about Jason Mimms. What sets you apart, and what do you say to them?
I say this. I'm not just a good looking guy in a suit. I'm funny. I could I could really, I have a different lane than most people who may look the same as me. I know that this work can sometimes make people, you know, it puts people in certain lanes and pockets that most of the times they have to follow for the majority of their career. But I think if you give me an opportunity to really open up, I think this part of my career is the discovery part where I think we get a chance to see all the different talents that I can do. And that can be from the comedy part, or it could be the depth of really doing a really dramatic role. Because I mean, just as much as I would love to be the male lead, the leading man in a Love Jones, you know, I would love to go ahead and go all the way on the other side of the screen and be over here like we were just talking about with an Eddie Murphy movie. Like I would love to be Axel Foley as well.
All right.
That would be cool. But then I also want to get into these westerns and stuff like that too, man. Because I mean, The Harder They Fall and the Magnificent, what was it, 7 or 8?
Yep.
I'm mixing two movies with them, but
Two generations.
yeah, you know. But I mean, I'm looking at all that stuff, man. I want to do all of that.
Yeah.
And I think this is the era where we get a chance to see Black artists really be brave and to take on some of these different ideas of what it means to be a Black artist, to be a Black leading man. we're seeing that within all of our works right now, because they're really getting to diversify from, just playing thug number one and, hoodlum man number six or whatever the hell, like drug dealer and all the rest of this stuff. We're really getting a chance to see our black work, our black cinema reach a place of, I feel like it's a new renaissance right now. So I want to be a part of that, and I want to usher in the next wave of this new black talent that's out there, this generation of black talent.
No, I love it. I love it. So where can the audience and your fans find you and stay in touch with you and keep a track of what your next projects are?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, or whatever. I'm gonna have to, I guess, adjust to TikTok eventually and get there and do something.
What's your handles?
Yeah, YouTube as well. On Instagram, I'm at Jason_Mimms, Mimms. Facebook is just Jason Mimms. I believe TikTok is the same, Jason Mimms. And then, you can find me on YouTube as well, Jason Mimms. Search me. I've got some things. I'm trying to actually get some things started in there. I'm going to start doing my own programming with some of the things we're talking about. Get some podcasts going, getting some other things. I already got some comedy videos and stuff up there from years ago, but really just starting to do a lot more of those things now. But yeah, also you can search some of the films that I've done, some of the series that I've done on all of the streaming platforms, OWN as well, Amazon Prime. I think I have another one that's on there, a Christmas movie on Tubi that just came out last year. So yeah, there's a few different places you can check me out, and drop me a line or something, say what's up.
Yo, listen, I appreciate you taking the time to be with us today, brother. I mean, it's been a great conversation. And we certainly are rooting for you. When you got new projects, make sure you reach out to us. And so already we can share with our audience. But we really appreciate you taking the time.
Nope, I appreciate it. And definitely anytime. And yeah, man, I'm wishing you much success with the platform. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of it. And anytime you want me to come back on here, man, I'd love to be a guest.
I appreciate that. With that being said, as the curtain falls on another captivating episode of Equity in Focus, we're left inspired by your story, brother. I mean, you're a man whose life reminds us that no matter where you start, your dreams are valid and they're attainable. And to our listeners, we hope today's conversation with Jason not only entertains, but enlightens, encouraging you to pursue your passions with the same resilience and the same heart. Thank you for joining us. And remember, in the theater of life, every day is an opportunity to play your part to the fullest. And until next time, keep pushing boundaries and breaking barriers. Good night. Take care.